I was talking earlier about the bad modelling that helped to create this virus panic. Well, that's nothing compared to the bad modelling that created the climate panic.
Even the rain that falls isn't actually going to fill our dams and our rivers.
Oh, see how many dud predictions has Tim Flannery made. It's incredible. But, you know, the scare they then whip up, right, it stays, it has an effect, and it's worked best on children. And it's, well, you might say, what's the big surprise there? They're less likely to understand the natural cycles of nature. Then every drought does end, there's more rain. We've seen it all before. And, of course, they're more inclined to panic and more willing to join a crusade, you know, the fiery eyes. And, of course, they do not think through consequences. Like, what would happen if you stopped every single coal mine and lost the $70 billion a year that they just happen to earn us? What would happen if you blew up every single coal-fired power station in Australia like the Greens want and you lost 60% of our electricity? Now, I was wondering about all that today when I heard the ABC once again promoting the latest anti-coal push by global warming extremists. This time, hiding behind some kids. Well, they've done that before too, haven't they? Greta Thunberg. Hiding behind some kids who all on their own, well, that's what we're supposed to believe, using their own pocket money maybe, have all on their own launched a class action in court, allegedly on behalf of young people everywhere, to stop the Morrison government approving an extension to a New South Wales coal mine, arguing that this will harm young people by making global warming worse. Yep, this one extension of a coal mine will cause the planet on its own to overheat, the seas to rise, humanity to die.
We're filing for an injunction to stop the Federal Environment Minister from being able to approve this Vickery coal mine. So it's just about this one project, but it could create precedent that can stop future coal projects, which is really cool.
We believe that she has a duty of care for young Australians and young people all over the world from the effects of climate change.
So I'm involved in this case because climate change is really important and it's only getting worse.
It's funny, isn't it? The law says people that age are too irresponsible, lacking too much judgment to even be entrusted with a vote. Yet they're able to launch lawfare against a coal mine? How about that? And of course the ABC being right behind the global warming bandwagon. My goodness, is it? It ended its report on these teenagers on AM this morning by urging listeners to check out yet more ABC anti-coal propaganda on an ABC podcast that interviews 3 global warming activists about all this, and it interviews nobody else to put the counter case.
And if you want to know more about the case and its chances of success, today's The Signal podcast will go into more detail.
The ABC, we pay for it, and the left have totally hijacked it. Climate hysterics from top to bottom. Joining me is National Senator and former Resources Minister Matt Canavan. Matt, lovely to catch up with you, mate. What difference, Matt, would this mine actually make to global warming?
Well, basically nothing. Andrew, you asked before what would happen if we shut down every coal mine in this country. Basically nothing. We produce around 4% of the world's thermal coal. So we're a big exporter of thermal coal, but most thermal coal is used close to where it's mined, used close to where it's mined. And so most of it's produced in China, the US, Russia, India. We're a much smaller producer. So even if we shut down every coal mine in this country, there would be very little impact. In fact, most likely, if mines like Vickery don't go ahead, it would be worse for greenhouse gas emissions, if you're concerned about that, because almost invariably the good coal, the high quality coal out of Vickery, will be replaced by lower quality coal, and that will increase carbon emissions. So to put numbers around this, the coal up around there in the Gunnedah Basin is around 6,000 kilocalories per kilogram. That's just a unit of energy. In India, you're looking at 3,000 to 4,000 kilocalories per kilogram. So you're getting a 50-60% better efficiency from Australian coals compared to Indian coals. And that's why this campaign is completely absurd, even on its own merits, even on their own desire to protect the environment. It fails.
And that's even without considering the fact that what little warming we've seen seems to be generally beneficial. We've seen record grain crops set around the world. We've seen the planet getting greener. We don't see islands disappearing. In fact, most low-lying coral atoll islands, by a margin of about 3 or 4 to 1, are increasing, not shrinking. And of course, we've had fewer cyclones here. But what would this lawfare against coal actually achieve? I can't imagine necessarily they're going to win, and I don't even know that they expect to win. Is this really about making coal mining tied up in so much legal red tape that it never actually can turn a profit or get started?
Yeah, look, that's basically it, Andrew. I mean, the counterpoint of this, though, or the reason they're pursuing this pathway is because they failed at the ballot box. These campaigners have tried to convince the Australian people to vote against coal. They did that last year, obviously, with their massive Stop Adani campaign, which failed miserably. And so instead of going through the democratic process, they're trying to go through a judicial, court-based process. I very much hope the courts continue to stick with the precedents they've had here in this case, which is that they've made the same points I just made in that first question, that you can't say one coal mine's going to blow up the planet, because it's one of many, many coal mines, and there's a whole lot of other things that could happen if you shut a coal mine down here, including increased coal production overseas. So I don't think it's got much chance of winning. But we know from leaked documents from Greenpeace and others that this is all about that delay, all about that red tape that you're saying.
Yeah, but then again, they could strike lucky. You know, there are now and then, here and there, activist judges who would be just itching to give a coal company a kick. What should the Morrison government do about this? Because there have been many complaints about lawfare. I mean, you've made them in the past as well. How it meant, projects like Adani were tied up in legal action for years and years and years in the courts, bleeding money, and all the delays as well. You've got another case in Queensland, again, tied up in courts. Mate, something's got to be done.
Well, one practical thing that's happening is there's legislation in the Senate and the Parliament right now to effectively give back the federal environmental powers to the state and territory governments. So we'll accredit them, so you won't have that extra layer of bureaucracy. It'll be a test for the Labor Party to see if they'll support that in the Senate soon. But we do need to do more. There's no doubt about that. There's a review of these laws in place at the moment, and we've got to make sure we've got to have a system which allows people to recover costs here for frivolous and vexatious claims, because often these are just frivolous in nature, and there's got to be a way to go after people here. These, these very genuine, I'm sure, and authentic teenagers that you've quoted from. I don't think they're doing this on their own. I think there's some
they're not doing it on their own. But the point is,
lawyers behind
hiding
them,
behind kids,
there's got to be laws to get through to those people. And,
but hiding behind kids,
get to them.
By hiding behind kids, they're kind of banking in part, I'm sure, not just for the sympathy factor from the public, but from a judge. They don't want court costs awarded against them. Would you take it out of this kid's piggy bank? Really? That kind of stuff. Matt Canavan is
No. We've got to go after
cynical.
the people funding them. We've got to go after the people funding those, mate. I saw the vision tonight. They look like they're in a pretty well-to-do office. And I'd love them to come up to Narrabri or Gunnedah, where this mine is, and officers aren't fitted out like that. There's no French artwork in the boardroom up at an office in Gunnedah. You might get some instant coffee and some sugar in the corner next to a kettle. That's what really angers me here, Andrew. That the people going after these coal mines are very well resourced, and they're costing people's jobs who don't have a lot of money.
No, you're quite right. Matt Canavan, we'll talk another day about what you should do about the ABC that's pushing these sorts of cases, but that's for another day. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Andrew.